Thailand. A cave. Children. Viggo Mortensen? Welcome back to Val Verde Broadcasting. I'm Duncan Casey, someone you don't see often reviewing new films because I'm quite old. But today I thought I would tickle your cinema bones by talking about a newly released film called 13 Lives. Yes, lucky 13 or unlucky for some who thought they'd go into a cave. This is the new Ron Howard film, and sort of fairly unceremoniously, I think, dropped on Amazon Prime last Friday, the 5th of August. And there were trailers. There was a few trailers, I think, on Amazon, but very little. I saw very little of it anyway. But I immediately was drawn to the performances by Colin Farrell and Viggo Mortensen. Anyway, yes, they're both playing sort of British, real-life British cave divers who ostensibly were responsible for saving 13 lives in the caves in Thailand. This is based on a true story. Back in 2018, actually a couple of days before I got married, these kids wandered haplessly into a cave that was, you know, open to the public, wasn't expected to flood. I believe it flooded every year, but during monsoon season, which wasn't expected to happen for another 4 or 5 weeks. Thanks, global warming. But nevertheless, they did, and bless them, they got trapped. So that was thus ensues the film. It's hard. It's a very hard job, and obviously Ron Howard has form in this, but it's a very hard job to make a 3-act film out of real life events, because obviously real life doesn't work in 3 acts. But this he does very, very well. It's an incredibly cinematic film that obviously is about very claustrophobic areas, and yet the scope of it is brilliantly realised by Howard. He's someone who's done this obviously with things like Apollo 13, but this, I think, he just hasn't lost his touch at all, and definitely is worth checking out. If you have Amazon Prime, please go and scope it out. It's brilliant. The performances are fantastic. You've got Colin Farrell, you've got Viggo Mortensen as the kind of main duo of the thing, who don't turn up until quite, I would say, getting on for the second act in the whole thing, because most of it is second act about trying to rescue they're a football team, a Thai football team. From the caves. It's one of those films that could so easily go wrong. I think if you really didn't have a sense of how to tell this in a cinematic way, I think you could really cock this up. And Ron Howard once again just knocks it out of the park. I think you've got, it starts off with this really beautifully shot idea of the area in Thailand. The mountain itself is called the Sleeping Princess Mountain or something, because from afar it looks like a sleeping princess, and when you go in, you're supposed to pray to, there's a monument to the sleeping princess, which obviously is foreboding and has all kinds of, it's quite menacing, I think, when you see it, because it's a sort of idyllic looking mountain, but it traps these kids in it. The thing is, the terrain itself is a character in the whole film, and again is really, really well realised. You've got this graphic of the tunnel system overlaid when they're, during parts of the film, to show you where people are, to give you a sense of how far away the kids are and how long it's going to take to get back. And it's something like a 5.5-hour dive these guys had to do to get to them, through these cave systems with, areas and pockets they could come up into. Spoilers for a real life event. The way they got them out in the end was to enlist the help of an Australian, for that is their name, anaesthetist, who came in. They had very early on, they struggled with a guy who panicked and bashed his head and nearly lost his life. And so they were like, we can't take kids for 5.5 hours through a cave system underwater, essentially. So they ended up anaesthetising the kids and having to give them booster shots every 45 minutes through the cave systems to keep them asleep, to get them out. And they had to cable tie their hands and everything and treated them like packages, but that was the only way to get them out. It's an insane rescue attempt. One that wasn't really reported very well, but this film does a brilliant job of humanising it from all sides, and really, really, you know, nailing the jeopardy, nailing the whole situation and the human story, but without falling into a need to create sort of villains or, you know, heroes or any of that stuff. It really is just and also without falling into the trap of simply being a simulator, for that is something that can happen quite a lot with these kind of films. It's just depicting events, and it's like, no, there is still a human story to it. There's still there's a narrative heart that's ongoing throughout. So I highly recommend 13 Lives. I realise I'm randomly here talking to you, that you don't often hear from me on such things, but if you have Amazon Prime, please check out 13 Lives. It is a really fantastic film. And look, if you're a fan of things like Apollo 13, Solo, then you might like it.
Backdraft.
Or Backdraft. Yeah, there's always Backdraft. Someone told me that. God, I think. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please, if this is your first time, or if it's your second time, or even your 83rd time, please comment, like, subscribe, do all the things that tickle the algorithms and bring us in to your recommended feed, because that is what we need. So please, check it out below. Come on in, join the Val Verde, dive into the subterranean waters of Val Verde Broadcasting, and we'll see you next time, right here, same time, same channel, same idiots. I don't know.
It's not even turned on.